I spent, well, I still do, but I spent about 20 something years as an executive coach. And just the conversations I would have with clients, they were very inspiring. People, when they go through coaching or they do personal or leadership development, it takes a lot of courage to do that and to really engage, to question your own reality in terms of what are the beliefs and assumptions that drive you, to be open to different perspectives. But everybody comes with their narrative, their story, or whatever. And out of those stories, as a coach, I extract the things that are most significant or meaningful. And so the everyday epiphanies in many ways is taking a look at some of those stories and I put them into essays. So it's a series of essays that are divided into like 6 main areas. But a lot of that was generated through the conversations and my own learning through my own experience. So it's a combination of all that. It's a blend. And the first version of Everyday Epiphanies, I actually wrote in 20, I think it was 20, no, it was 2007. It was a long time ago. And that one was a version of my newsletters. It was just compiling my newsletters. And that was 2007. Publishing was different. Life was different. Everything was different. And it was called Everyday Epiphanies, Insights for Living with Purpose. And the funny story about this book is I didn't mean to write it. And by that, I mean, back in February, I'm a binge writer. So back in February, I was doing a retreat in near Lisbon with a couple of friends of mine. And I bartered for something because she didn't have a lot of money to spend and she wanted me to participate. And she and her husband were in Lisbon for about a month. And I said, I'm trying to write my next book and I need a quiet space. Will you let me stay for a couple of weeks and just write and just feed me, and take care of me? Because when I binge write, I almost don't eat unless someone pulls me away. And so she said yes. So the book I meant to write was a book on stillness, which is drafted. And for some odd reason, I can't explain it. I sat down and I pulled up Everyday Epiphanies, the first version, and I started reading through it and I thought, this is really out of date and so much has changed and I've changed and my thinking has changed and the world has changed. I should really just rewrite this. And then I just started writing. So it was almost like the book called me to be rewritten because it wasn't like, oh, I'm going to write Everyday Epiphanies in these 2 weeks. I was going to write the book on stillness. And then I pulled up Everyday Epiphanies. So
Well, that's really cool.
That was not that. So it's like, I do most things intentionally, but that one was just like being pulled in that direction. And I really believe, follow the energy, follow where your attention goes. Right.
Mm-hmm.
And my energy and my attention were going there. So I spent 2 weeks just binge writing and basically rewriting the book. So it actually is not very similar to the first version at all, because so many things have changed and my writing style has evolved, significantly. So it's hard to tell that it was written by the same person. The only thing that really remained the same was the introduction, because how I first wrote Everyday Epiphanies was as a result of an experience I had with my young son. He was about 4 years old, and we lived near a river. And we were walking to the river, and Joseph ran ahead of me, and he was had his face in what I thought was a flower, really close in. And he says, Mommy, come look. This is the most beautiful flower. And when I approached him, he said to me, and Mommy, the flower has wings. And it was a monarch butterfly. It wasn't a flower, but he'd never seen a monarch butterfly before. So he thought it was a flower and it had wings. Of course, how beautiful is that the imagination of a 4-year-old, right? And I really entered into his experience, and it was the first time that I'd actually really seen. I mean, I've seen them flying around, but I'd never really seen a monarch butterfly with all the veins and all the colors and the texture of the wings, and that same sense of wonder and awe that my son was living through as a 4-year-old. Because of course, when you're 4, everything's new and wonderful and awesome, right? And that's what got me. That's why I called it Everyday Epiphanies, because I had this sense of epiphany that there's beauty everywhere around us. No, even in the worst of times, but like we need to look, we need to like be present. We need to pay attention, right? And in a world that's demanding of our attention and it's pulling us away from things, and even pulling us away from our own thoughts and imagination, right? So for me, all those aha moments are these like everyday epiphanies that you can get. Like behind me, and what you see in the background is the Algarvian Cliffs. It's where I walk in the morning with my dog. And a lot of my writing and poetry starts on those cliffs, because I'm just kind of always, I can look at this every single day and never take it for granted. And that's kind of how so nobody really knows that story about how Everyday Epiphanies was written. All you guys now know. We're in a fast moving world. There's a lot of technology. I mean, there's videos that look so realistic. You start doubting your own reality. You can't hear yourself. Everything, and I'm talking about Western culture, by the way. It's different here in Portugal. But like in the United States, everything is busy, busy, busy. And our whole identities are tied up in how productive we are. Are you getting a result? You're rewarded for results, but you're not really rewarded for the creativity or the imagination. You're not rewarded for taking care of yourself. You know, those things are like not really important. But when you live in different countries, like I have, all of that gets challenged. Your identity tends to detach from the old way of seeing yourself, your self-worth based in productivity and this go 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 culture. And this is why I think a lot of people are stressed. And of course now we have, you know, world events that are very challenging and kind of scary. And so where do we go? I mean, for me, you go back to nature. You go back to the natural world, because the natural world is what it is. It is what it is. It doesn't try to be something else. A bird isn't trying to be a fish. You know, the fish isn't going through personal development classes to be a bigger fish, you know, or swim better. You know, it's like really, and you know, that really started for me when I was living with a shaman in Ecuador. When you're in the rainforest, and you can't have it not be what it is. As dangerous as it is, or as beautiful as it is what it is. And so I think it's a recovering of a different kind of truth, a truth that's grounded in a different sensibility. It's not up here. It really is like in your heart. And I know that sounds kind of corny, but I do believe it's true. And it's like, I tell people I have 2 fundamental beliefs that I lead my life on. One is that everything is energy. Words are energy, dreams are energy, actions are energy. We exchange energy. I think we are in an energetic world. And for me, I kind of filter everything through that naturally. And the second one is I truly believe that we are spiritual beings having a human experience. And that as such, it's very important to honor our spiritual development and to inquire, to lead what I can't remember which philosopher said, the examined life, you know, to understand who am I and what is my place in the world, not in the sense of arrogance, but in the sense of how can I serve? How can I develop myself in service of a larger community? And one of the things that I learned in shamanism is this concept of unidad totalidad. Unidad being the singular and totalidad being the whole. And the concept is akin to like a hologram, where the unit is contained in the whole, but the whole is contained in the unit. So I would say our individual lives have a larger context in the collective, but our collective is in us too. And you can see that by the way we create our beliefs and our systems. So it changes the way you lead your life. And for me, when I wrote, The Shaman's Wife, but Everyday Epiphanies as well, there's a lot of that in there that people can actually, I want it to be things that people could actually practice in their real life, not just be an esoteric kind of concept, but to develop practices that keep us connected to what really holds meaning for us in our lives. And what holds meaning for me may very well be different than what holds meaning for someone else. It doesn't make it wrong. It just means it's different. And how can we stay connected to that so that we can lead lives that are meaningful to us, and maybe, out of that serve each other in a different way. When you are really present, let me put this way, when you're not present, you're breathing up here. People don't really breathe in like all the way down to like your belly button kind of thing. And what happens is, so all our energy is up here. This is what we're doing, right? With our very strong minds and stuff. But presence requires a different kind of energy, and it's a fully embodied energy. And it's the breath that brings you there. I might walk the cliffs, but like I'm breathing in a completely different way. I'm just like, can I just breathe all of this in, all this beauty, all this goodness, everything that life has to offer me. And even in moments where it's difficult, just pausing, just step back for a moment and take 3 really deep breaths, and you are right back in the present moment. You're not out there, you're not in the past, you're not in the future. So if there's one practice that is easy, doesn't cost anything, is always accessible, it's your breath.